Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to offer dana, then please do go to justthiszen.org/giving. Your support really does make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
It's a delight to see so many people here with us. It's a treat for us that Jan is going to offer her first talk as head student, and my little heart is thrilled. So I'm delighted to introduce Jan and to commend her for stepping over a threshold that I know has been an important one to step over. So over to Jan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy, for that lovely introduction. I feel pretty thrilled too, which I can't quite believe. Never in a month of Sundays would have imagined I would feel thrilled to be doing such a thing as this. But here I am. So, yeah, hello to everyone. I'm so delighted to see you all. It's such a joy. And it makes this whole this experience so much easier with all your friendly faces. You know, such a big full screen of people, and it really touches my heart that so many of you have come. So I really appreciate that. So just following along that sort of appreciation route, I also want to say that, you know, that I appreciate all the people who've supported me along the way, you know, to sort of get to this point. I feel like I've received a lot of love and support along the way. And I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for that, and without you. And I guess without you, there wouldn't actually be a point to doing this. So yeah, I feel very much I'm doing it with you. So thank you for being part of this. I need to just firstly say, though, I'm really grateful for Josh and Trudy, who I feel have nurtured me over these years. And then, you know, in turn, Flint has nurtured them. And the teachings that I've been really fortunate to hear over the past decade plus has been really amazing, and created such a fertile ground for me to grow on, grow within. So this is my first Dharma talk. It's as much a surprise to me as to quite a few people, particularly the organising group. I've not hidden it that this has been quite a terrifying thing to contemplate. But then in mid-October, just after the ceremony, and when we were working out who was going to offer Dharma talks, I just raised my hand. You know, it just seemed like the right thing to do. You know, I'm head student, so and you know, that terror that I felt, I don't know where it's gone really. It actually feels like a bit of a mystery. But there's no doubt that, you know, doing the talk tonight is just another Dharma gate, or as Trudy described it last week, a precious opportunity for growth, a POG. I'm quite liking POGs and dogs that Trudy suggested last week. So thanks for that, Trudy. So here we are. What is my talk about? Well, my talk is called Becoming Head Student, or Shuso is the Zen name. It's called becoming rather than being head student, because I think there's something very much about it being a process that, and I'm growing into the role. It's not, you know, it's not something that just happens overnight, and it's something that I feel is really sort of intertwined with me becoming Jan at the same time, which I don't quite understand, but that's what seems to be happening, is that the becoming head student and Jan seem to be really, you know, deeply entwined. But right now I feel like I'm a bit of a baby on the path, you know, in the first months or so. And, you know, there's something that I have had in my head, is that a head student ceremony doesn't make a head student. You know, I didn't become a head student overnight. So it's very much, I feel that this is something I want to grow into. So the talk is basically my sort of a story of my relationship with this role, and my journey over the past few years, which has not felt easy or straightforward. I've had many conversations over the years, particularly with Duncan, who will testify, and Judy and Josh, and many other people too. I would like to say that I had mixed feelings about it, but it was much stronger than that. You know, I had terror and aversion about doing this role. And funnily enough, a couple of weeks ago when we were talking, there was Duncan and Mary and Shirley, and I said to them, what do you think about what's happened? And he said, there was a time when I thought if you did this role, it would kill you. That's how terrified I was about it. That's probably about 3 years ago. And I was like, Lord, I've been terrified of this, which is quite yeah, quite a thing, really. I don't know how it's transformed. Yeah, that whole being petrified, you know, I would feel my heart race, panic, nausea, and like every year I'd say to Duncan, oh shit, they're going to be talking about head students soon, you know, I don't want to do it, you know. How can I shore myself up, bolster my no, just in case I get invited? And all the reasons would come up, you know, oh, I work full time, stressful life events, moving house. And I think I've run out of reasons. And I think we've also run out of UG members, because each passing year, each of the UG members have sort of stepped forward, and it's got, you know, it felt like it was getting closer and closer to me, almost as if it was chasing me, and that one day it would get me. And that felt frightening. You know, it felt like it would be exposing, and I was inevitably going to be judged as not good enough. And I think I think I said this on the retreat to fill in. So I had this notion that this whole thing was like a performance, and so I had to do it well, and I had to impress you. And it felt sort of unbearable to think that I would be in that light and be judged, and that somehow I would have to like be important. And I actually realize now that was really quite a delusion on my part, because is sort of not what's required at all. I recently actually read some comments on a koan entitled, it's called Vast Emptiness, Nothing Holy. And I really liked this koan. It's not like me, I'm not a koan lover by any means. Don't understand the things. But I was always drawn to the explanation of it. And Duncan and I have been sort of going back and looking at koans. And I was reading some of the explanation of this particular koan. And there was a particular bit that resonated for me. And it said this: our sense of feeling important is a block and is a prejudice. Our sense of unimportantness brings a clarity about what's actually needed. And it just really seems to hit the spot for me. Now, there's a real nub here of the shift, is that somehow I felt I needed to be important and live up to that importantness. And it felt like such a pressure to, you know, perform, as I say. And it was really clouding my mind, and my nervous system was pretty freaked out. I couldn't think straight, and there's sort of what is coming to me is actually the whole feeling ordinary and unimportant is the key. It's so simple, and you're like, it's freedom. It's freedom from certainly all those feelings that I was having in the previous years. So in reflecting about where I was, I did realize that all these expectations and judgments that I perceived were mine. They weren't from you. You are such a lovely, compassionate, kind, understanding group of people. These judgments and expectations were coming from me, from my old inner friends, my taskmaster and my condemner, which I know I've mentioned before in my Way Seeking Mind talk. And they were so strong and have been strong all my life, warning me of the likely difficulty, the exposure, the suffering, the shame, the humiliation, if I was rubbish at this job, at this role. And even though I knew this, I didn't seem to be able to step back from them. They just seemed to have such a hold over me. And I guess when I look at it now, it's like, God, I was in a self-centered dream. I was really caught in it, caught in my conditioning and holding, to these self-centered dreams. And they caused me such a lot of suffering. I don't know exactly how they've moved, but they have, and it feels much looser. But during that time, I would look at other people giving talks or the other head students, and I would just convince myself I couldn't do that. That was beyond me. I wasn't made that way. I was good at organizing, and I should stick to what I was good at. So that's what I did. And I got really good at what I practiced. And I guess that's how I made myself valuable to the Sangha. But then I think it becomes a bit of a straitjacket, because I'm more than my organization ability. Sort of linked to this, in the Jukai ceremony in 2023, I was given my rakasu. This is my rakasu, which I sewed. And on the back, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this, some of you may not be. On the back is the name that, in my case, Flint chose for me. And it has two parts. And the first part of my name is Function Mountain. Did I like that part of my name? No, I didn't. I can understand why I was given that name. And it's absolutely true. I have made myself a function mountain within the Sangha. But I resented the name. It felt like a label and not a celebration of my offering, which was what Lynn suggested to me this week when I met with her, which I thought was a really helpful sort of reframing of it. And I also was exploring with her that somehow I felt there was something pointed about it, in that the name Function Mountain was saying too much of this. So it felt like there was some implicit judgment in it, yet another delusion. Yet I continued on, because that was 2023. I continued on reinforcing Function Mountain, as this was what was very familiar. It's what has made me successful in life, and I'm pretty attached to it. It's been a key part of what I value in me, and how I've lived my life. So coming back to this whole shift, I sort of got to a point this year, and it did take some talking, but I realized I couldn't run away any longer. You know, I had to turn towards my uncomfortable feelings. I had to feel the fear and do it anyway. I had to push through, trust I could handle it. You know, I love those words from Susan Jeffers. And I felt, come on, Jan, put your big girl pants on. You know, it's time to do what you talk to many people about. I had to, you know, and turn towards what felt really terrifying. I came across this quote actually just recently. I've been looking at tricycle based on it because Trudy recommended it. So there was something that I was reading, and it said that the Buddha himself describes types of fear, 2 types of fear. And I love this simple explanation. He says that there are 2 types: the useful kind that prepares us to take skillful action and reduce harm. Yeah, really helpful. And the second kind, that makes us see a cobra where there is a rope that has cast a shadow. My fear was the piece of rope type of fear. You know, it wasn't a cobra or even a threat, but a dharma gate that I was turning away from. So again, you know, a delusion that I was really caught up in. Bit of a theme going on here. So realizing I couldn't run anymore, and sort of just, and I think I heard Flint saying this in his, you know, in his way seeking mind talk about, well, this is the path I'm on, you know, then take the next step. So that's what I've done. I've taken the next step and I'm following it, and just one step at a time. I don't know where I'm going. And as Trudy said, I think, you know, it's really been a powerful threshold for me to take on this role. And the thing about a threshold, you don't really know what's on the other side. I guess you just have to trust that you can cope, that actually it's the right thing to do. So as in Judy's leaving ceremony poem, I don't know whether many of you will remember, I love that there's a line in it says that her no melted into a yes. And so there was one UG meeting in the summer, and I went, okay, I'll do it. And everyone in the UG went, are you sure? No, I'll do it. I'll do it. It's the right thing to do. So I accepted the invitation. You know, and what I really find hard to really put into words is the fear really just started to subside as those months went on. My body started to relax, almost like some magic, that having just accepted, well, this is what I'm doing now, the fear just like melted away. So coming back to the retreat where there was the ceremony, Trudy was talking about not going to the study and opening your books, and be the beauty we love. And I'm actually laughing at myself now, because in the months before the retreat and the ceremony, and I talked about this with Karen, that I'd started to plan and get busy, not to make spreadsheets, but I started to listen to talks and I started to study. And I think I was missing the point, is what I feel now, is the point is, the only requirement is that I be myself, be my wholehearted self. I don't need to study, and I don't need to be clever. And yeah, that feels very ordinary and really wholesome. And I really want to do that. So the other thing, because that was the theme, was about being the beauty you love. Judy talked about how her love of ceramics and art had been nurtured in her childhood, and there was a realization for me that had not been nurtured in me. You know, we didn't value, you know, beautiful things. It was always, that'll do. That was my dad's phrase, that'll do, Jan. You know, nothing expensive, everything was cheap, everything was, you know, good enough, and beauty didn't come into it. And I felt a little bit bereft about that. And I know that I had a conversation with somebody, I think it might have been Catherine, actually. And I realized, and she pointed out to me that actually I see love in other ways and in other places. And it's helped me to realize that actually my innate sense of where I see love is in my fascination and love for human beings. This is the beauty I love. So in the Rumi poem, Let It Be What I Do, it has been what I do, and my work as a teacher and a trainer and human resources has enabled me to express this. And then I'm particularly think that my role as a therapist, I think there's something about that role and the intimacy of that role, and I get the opportunity to really see and feel the way in which people face and embrace their life they are handed. They really are facing life as it is. And despite adversity and the suffering, they survive. They challenge their conditioning, and many of them thrive. You know, as Flint says, you know, messy miracles. And sort of in connection with that, I think it really links for me about what I learned in my Hakomi training, is that there's something that I learned, there's sort of a real gift that that training gave me, was that sense of how to cultivate loving kindness. It's a most precious gift that that training has offered me. And it really helps me invites me to see what inspires me in others. And it's something that I find easy to do. People are such fascinating, beautiful, messy and miraculous things. And I think this is going to be a key part of how, Josh asked me, how would I embody the role? Well, I don't know. I think this is a part of how I see me embodying my role. So, just a couple more things about Shuso from the ceremony and, you know, that whole tradition. Is that at Judy's leaving ceremony, she talked about how she felt the role as head student had not been a separating experience. It had been the most involved, you know, experience she'd had with the Sangha, taking up the head student role together. And I could really feel this, and it really touched me how connecting she had found the role. And I felt really inspired to undertake the role in this way, you know, in faith that actually, with the help and support of you, I would find my way, you know, and it really felt quite a relief that I actually wasn't going to be doing this on my own. I was going to be doing it with you guys, and there are no better guys to be doing it with. And at the end of the ceremony, something that I wasn't sure how I would experience was that people were invited to show their support for me in this role. And I was just blown away by the love and support that people expressed. My heart was just filled and overflowing. And I really felt deep down that doing this role was in service of the Sangha and you lovely people. And your belief in me has been so powerful in helping me sit back and just be myself. So I have a strong feeling. I feel I'm quite fortunate in a way, because there's been 6 head students before me, and it's like I've been able to see the way that other people have done it. And again, I was talking to Lynn about this, about how, you know, everybody's done it in their own way, but they've all done it with certain sort of qualities of sort of uprightness and compassion and wisdom and humility. And I feel a sense of, you know, this role being passed, that warm hand to warm hand over the past years. And what I've witnessed is quite inspiring to me. And that's quite interesting, because I think in the past I saw that as something I had to live up to and that I would judge myself against. But that doesn't seem to be around right now. So at the ceremony, well, at the end of the ceremony, Josh turned to me and he said, "Jan, would you like to take the Dharma staff home? Here's the boy." All 4 or 5 foot of him. And I have this sort of sense that that, you know, I'm really humbled to hold this staff. You know, this has been held by Trudy and Josh, and then by Catherine and Lynn and John and Judy, and now it's my turn. I'll bring it down so you can see the beautiful sort of head that it has. But it feels like almost like, you know, like a baton in a relay race, you know, and it's a bit longer, 4 foot longer than a baton. But this is just my turn. And it's not really about me. It's about the life of the Sangha. Yeah, and I'm just curious about, you know, how I will, you know, embody this this role this year. So this little friend here, as Duncan will tell you, it sits in my bedroom now. It's at the bottom of the bed over the other side of the room, so that when I wake in the morning, this is the first thing that I see. And it reminds me about what's important and what my commitment is. And what seems to be emerging is that I seem to be stepping up my practice in everyday life. I've got this silly phrase, you know, charity begins at home. Well, practice begins at home. You know, it's not something we just do in the Zendo. And somehow starting my day and with this sense of intention, I seem to be able to expect more from myself, but not in a demanding way, not in a critical way that I have to live up to. And so my first words, I seem to have just fallen into a little mantra that I say each morning when I wake up, is that I am not my conditioning. I am more than my conditioning. And I'm really grateful, Josh. I think this is a great thing for people to take this home, because it's such an embodiment of the uprightness and the steadfastness of the role. So with my trusty friend, my staff, I feel that it's going to really help me along the way. So just for sake of completeness, and I wanted to just say the second part of my name. So the first part at the top here is Function Mountain, and the second part of the name is Great Harmony. So how do I live into this one? It's the part of my name that Flint sees as my growing edge. I think what it means to me is maybe ease, balance, calm. And I say, yes, please. So we'll see what happens. And maybe there'll be another talk about that. So finally, to end my talk, I want to share a poem, which feels quite a strange thing for me to be doing, a hater of poetry. I wrote this poem directly after an inquiry on the Tuesday after the head student ceremony. And after the ceremony, this poem thing just fell out of me. It only took me 20 minutes to write. My head was full of a sort of a jumble of themes and words. And I just was writing them down. And somehow it created a poem. You know, it was almost like magical. So the poem actually is the basis of the talk. So the poem sort of underlies the talk. But the poem came first. I think this is really interesting. I thought poetry was something you had to work at. And I didn't think it was for me. I didn't think I was wired that way. Poems rarely made sense to me. And although I've heard this loads of time, it has taken me a long time to understand I don't have to make sense of poems. I just need to feel them. So maybe poetry will become a little bit of a resource for me. I'd like to think it might be, but we'll see. So here we go. I'm going to read you my poem. So this is the second poem in 2 months because I had the one on the retreat. So it's entitled Becoming Shuso. It's a bit shorter than Head Student. Becoming Shuso. It's magic. It's a mystery. Caught in the self-centered dream that I couldn't handle it. Frozen by fear that there was too much to live up to. The path beckoned, but it felt like a burden. Then something shifts. It's the way. Just follow it wherever it goes. Feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Like Judy's no, my no melts to a yes. How can this happen? What felt real was a delusion. It's magic. It's a mystery. Function Mountain was king at the expense of great harmony. Attached to functionality, I demonstrated my worth to you and to me. Fear of uselessness snapping at my heels, keeping me running, reinforcing my delusion. What if I just stopped running and let my body turn towards the dharma? Turning towards beauty, let it be what I do. Attachment never helps. It's just a delusion. It's magic. It's a mystery. Warm hand to warm hand, the Shuso staff is past, trusting all those that have gone before me, feeling the support of my teachers and my spiritual friends, holding the dharma staff 5 feet tall. I feel upright and purposeful, waking each morning to its image. Somehow I can ask more of myself, but do less. Let the harmony unfold. I am not my conditioning. It's a delusion. It's magic. It's a mystery. And now, nothing is different, yet everything is different. Resisting the path no longer, just stepping forward, feeling the support and love of the Sangha, the magic of you believing in me. In service of the Sangha, to live and be lived by my vow. Feeling the way in the dark, not knowing, just trusting. How can I be excited? Yet I am. How can a burden become a gift? It was a delusion. It's magic. It's a mystery. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed writing that poem. And I've so enjoyed it. I'd like to hear it again. I hope that's okay by you. But I've asked Karen to read my poem. And she's my Benji. And I don't know whether many of you know that each year the head student chooses someone to support them in the role. And I chose Karen. She's been a great emotional support and spiritual friend to me. So thank you, Karen. I think she has a copy of it.
Thank you, Jan, so much for asking me to read your poem. Becoming Shuso. It's magic, it's a mystery, by Jan. Caught in the dream that I couldn't handle it, frozen by fear that there was too much to live up to. The path beckoned, but it felt like a burden. Then something shifts. It's the way. Just follow it wherever it goes. Feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Like Judy's no, my no also melts to a yes. How can this happen? What felt real was a delusion. It's magic. It's a mystery. Function Mountain was king at the expense of great harmony. Attached to functionality, I demonstrated my worth to you and to me. Fear of uselessness snapping at my heels. Keeping running, reinforcing my delusion. What if I just stop running and let my body turn towards the dharma, turn towards beauty, let it be what I do? Attachment never helps. It's just a delusion. It's magic. It's a mystery. Warm hand to warm hand. The Shuso staff is past, trusting all those that have gone before me. Feeling the support of my teachers and spiritual friends. Holding the Dharma staff 5 feet tall, I feel upright and purposeful, waking each morning to its image. Somehow I can ask more of myself, but do less. Let the harmony unfold. I am not my conditioning, it's a delusion. It's magic, it's a mystery. And now nothing is different, and yet everything is different. Resisting the path no longer, just stepping forward. Feeling the support and love of the Sangha, the magic of you believing in me, in service of the Sangha, to live and be lived by my vow. Feeling my way in the dark, not knowing, just trusting. How can I be excited? Yet I am. How can a burden become a gift? It was a delusion. It's magic. It's a mystery.